Tonight on Reporting Scotland. Scotland lags behind England in the push to get young people from poorer backgrounds to university. The 14-year-old girl who died after collapsing in a PE class. Her family praised the efforts of school staff to save her. 100 years after Royal Navy warships left the Firth of Forth to engage the Germans, we remember the Battle of Jutland. World champion swimmer Robbie Rennick warns that the legacy of Glasgow 2014 may be lost without more investment in the sport.
This time, no stress, no drama.
And Andy Murray gets back on track with a straight sets win to reach the fourth round of the French Open. Good evening. Helping more young people from disadvantaged areas to get to university is one of the Scottish Government's top priorities. But according to research today, the problem remains stark. Young Scots from disadvantaged areas are 4 times less likely to go to university than those from wealthy backgrounds. That's a bigger gap than anywhere else in the UK. Here's our education correspondent, Jamie McIver.
The number of Scots going to university is at a record high, and more youngsters from disadvantaged areas are starting to study for a degree. But this isn't the whole story. Youngsters from the most prosperous parts of Scotland are 4 times more likely to go to university than those from the most deprived areas. That gap is the widest in the UK.
All parts of the UK are still struggling with widening access, but also it is the case that in Scotland we've not made quite such good progress as in England in getting more of our poorer young people into university.
The Scottish Government says closing the gap is one of its biggest aims, but this will take time.
There's been a historical problem in younger people from deprived backgrounds getting to university in Scotland. And now, of course, we're seeing significant improvements in that position, and young people in Scotland are now much more likely to go to university under the actions of the SNP government than when we came to office in 2007. But there is much more to do on this subject.
There's one big difference in university policy between Scotland and the rest of the UK. Free tuition, a matter of principle which comes at a cost.
Right.
It means there's a rigid limit on the number of university places open to Scots. So unless the number of places continues to rise, helping the disadvantaged could cause others to lose out.
There is a special priority that needs to be given to people from the most disadvantaged backgrounds. That's a challenge that we take up from the Commission on Widening Access report. But I think we need to look at how do we do that without displacing other deserving learners, many of them from very, very ordinary backgrounds.
Some also say direct comparisons with England are now difficult. One reason is the role of colleges. More people aged under 30 in Scotland have been in higher education than in England. But look at this. Here, about 2 in 5 went to college first. In England, it's roughly 1 in 8. These students at City of Glasgow College are hoping to go on to do degrees.
I'm hoping to do mechanical engineering at Strathclyde University. And I've chosen this route because I think it's a good transition.
There's no need to rush it, you know. Even if the longer way is better than also going the shorter way.
Today's report is a reminder that widening access is a complicated problem with no easy soundbite solutions. Jamie McIver, Reporting Scotland.
The family of a teenage girl from North Lanarkshire who died after falling ill during a PE lesson have praised school staff for giving her a fighting chance. 14-year-old Ciara Beagle died in hospital after being airlifted yesterday from Calderhead High School in Shotts. Our reporter Graham Stewart is there for us tonight. Graham.
Well, Sari, Ciara Beagle has been described as a popular and much respected member of the school community here. But yesterday afternoon, during a PE lesson, she fell to the floor in the school's games hall. Staff immediately rushed to the scene with a defibrillator machine and administered several rounds of CPR. She was then flown to a hospital in Glasgow, but later died. I've been speaking to the school's head teacher, and he's been paying his respects.
It's a very, very rare event, a sense of sadness, and that Ciara was a popular girl in the school. Everybody knew her by her first name. She had a smile on her face for everybody. she would speak to me in the morning and coming in and wave to me on the way out at the end of the day.
Well, Ciara's grandmother, Elaine Black, has been paying tribute to the school staff and the emergency services for, in her words, giving Ciara a fighting chance. An online fundraising page has now raised nearly £2,000. And this is a very small, tight-knit school community, only 400 pupils or so here, so everybody tends to know each other, and streams of pupils have been delivering some of their floral tributes here throughout the day. Police Scotland say Ciara's death is, as of yet, unexplained, but a post-mortem examination will be carried out to establish the exact circumstances of her death. Sally.
Graham Stewart, thank you very much. You're watching Reporting Scotland from the BBC. Still to come on tonight's programme.
The story of the town will be told in my...
Breathing new life into a groundbreaking theatre project about witches in Dundee.
And in sport, short and sweet for Andy Murray at the French Open. We report from Paris, and you'll find out why a publicity stunt could land a championship club in bother.
The jury in the Liam Fee trial have been sent home and told to return on Monday to continue considering their verdict. The toddler's mother, Rachel Fee, and her partner, Naomi Fee, deny murdering the 2-year-old in March 2014. They also deny abusing 2 other children. Lisa Summers reports.
With the jury now home for the weekend, this long-running trial here at the High Court in Livingston will be pushed into an 8th week. Lord Burns began his direction to the jury yesterday. They went out to consider their verdict at 20 to 11 this morning. Lord Burns said the jury of 8 women and 6 men should consider the evidence dispassionately and without emotion, although it was an emotional case. He said it was a circumstantial case and that any inferences from the evidence the jury should make should be reasonable and without speculation. The couple are accused of 8 charges. They include neglecting and murdering Liam and a catalogue of abuse against 2 other boys over a 2-year period. The Crown case is that the couple engaged in an escalating pattern of cruelty towards Liam, that this led to the young boy dying of a blow to the abdomen so severe it led to his heart rupturing. The defence say it wasn't Rachel or Naomi Fee that killed Liam on March the 22nd, 2014, but they say it's another young child who was responsible for Liam's death. The jury spent 4 hours deliberating the evidence over the course of the day before they were sent home. Naomi Fee turned to wave to her mother, who'd been sitting in the public gallery as Lord Burns adjourned the case for the weekend. He told the jury they could reconvene on Monday at 10 o'clock to continue with their deliberations. Rachel and Naomi Fee deny murdering Liam and blaming his death on another child. They also deny the abuse charges against the 2 other children. Lisa Summers, Reporting Scotland at the High Court in Livingston.
Hundreds of North Sea workers are to be balloted for industrial action in a dispute over pay cuts. Members of Unite, working for Wood Group on 8 Shell installations, will vote on whether to strike. They claim they're facing a cut of up to 30%, including allowances. The union says the cuts are unjustified. Wood Group says it's trying to safeguard the long-term employment of its workers. Commemorations begin today to mark the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Jutland. The naval battle between British and German forces left more than 8,000 seamen dead. John McManus has been aboard HMS Kent in Leith Docks.
Coming aboard to discover the history of one of World War I's most significant battles.
So this piece of equipment here and this here, these are radars, 2 radars, so they'll sweep out between 12 and 20 miles and tell us where other ships are.
These Scottish and German pupils are being shown around HMS Kent, moored in Leith, as part of the commemorations for the Battle of Jutland. It's all friendly now, but 100 years ago, when the Royal Navy confronted Germany's High Seas Fleet in the North Sea, more than 8,000 men died. So, what did the visitors make of it?
I liked it that our countries are like friends right now, and I can be here on the Royal Navy ship.
I didn't know very much about it, but this experience has been great for me to understand what's going on and what's happened in the history of it all.
The battle left 14 Royal Navy ships at the bottom of the North Sea. But one of the survivors was Edward George Hobbs. Today, his grandson Graham is head gardener for the Commonwealth War Graves Commission in Scotland, and he's been preparing the Naval Cemetery in South Queensferry for the remembrance events.
It'll be quite poignant on my grandfather's side, seeing commemorations to, because there's 2 or 3 of his contemporaries here and up at Lyoness buried, that it could quite easily been him, and if it was him, I'm not here.
More than 6,000 British seamen perished at Jutland, but the battle's now seen as a victory.
The loss of life was much greater on our side and loss of ships too. But the main point was that the German High Seas Fleet never put to sea again with the serious intention of engaging the Grand Fleet. And that meant that Britain retained command of the North Sea and was able to mount the blockade of Germany. That was immensely important in bringing about the end of the war.
Much of the British Grand Fleet, and particularly the battle cruisers that were blown up by the German forces, sailed from Rosyth, which is why the area will play such a central role in the centenary. Well, the events today here on HMS Kent have been really about fact-finding, children learning about the past. The major commemorations get underway tomorrow at South Queensferry and Rosyth, and on Tuesday on the Orkney Islands. John McManus reporting Scotland on HMS Kent in Leith.
Experts are warning today that fake or smuggled goods can be not just disappointing but downright dangerous. In Glasgow today, the public were also being warned that selling cheap counterfeit goods has become an attractive outlet for serious criminals. Aileen Clark has been checking out the market.
Roll up, roll up. How'd you fancy a pair of designer boots? Now, would you like the grey or the brown or maybe even the tan? Well, actually, do you know what? You wouldn't want any of these because this is the real McCoy. This is the proper sheepskin here. These are cheap, nasty nylon, and if you ended up with that, you'd soon end up with this. Not so good and not much of a bargain.
The firm that makes genuine Ugg boots has had almost 70,000 websites selling fake ones taken down. The trade and rip-off copies of designer goods is massive. £30 million worth have been seized and 100 arrests made at Glasgow's Barras alone in the last 3 years. And it goes far beyond accessories.
We've got electrical goods, which including things like phone chargers, hair straighteners, products like that, which can go up in flames, cause your house to go on fire.
Meet Dixie, the detection dog. Happy to pose with a whole range of counterfeit goods and smuggled cigarettes, but her day job is sniffing out the contraband and the copied.
Dixie's on tobacco as a primary search role is tobacco. She started off on DVDs and she was also trained to work over Viagra as well. So that was her 3 components of her search work.
Has Dixie had any particularly big hauls?
We had a day in Glasgow where we recovered, I think it was 16,500 cigarettes and a few kilos of hand-rolling tobacco across various locations across the city. So I was particularly proud of that one. It was the hottest day of the year last year, so I was particularly proud of that because conditions were tough for everybody on the team, including Dixie.
And there's plenty more to find, with big criminal gangs controlling much of this trade.
They realise that perhaps counterfeit goods in particular are lower risk and higher reward than the conventional drug dealing activities that they were involved in. However, what we find now is that money is still being used to fund other criminality.
Profits this skilled detective is very keen to seize. Aileen Clark, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Let's take a look now at other stories from across the country. A report suggests Scotland's urban areas, especially those around Glasgow, have the highest lung disease mortality rates in Britain. The study by the British Lung Foundation says your chances of dying from lung disease in Glasgow are nearly twice that of nearby Stirling and nearly triple that of places like Kensington and Chelsea in London. A train driver has been arrested for allegedly being intoxicated while on duty at Waverley Station in Edinburgh. The 54-year-old ScotRail employee was arrested just before midnight on Wednesday. He's since been removed from duties. It's emerged that a plane on approach to Glasgow Airport almost collided with a drone. The incident happened 2 months ago over Clydebank, when the pilot of a Boeing 737 reported seeing the drone about 100 feet below him. Investigators said there'd been a definite risk of collision. A woman is to stand trial charged with murdering a Fife pensioner. Sandra Weir is accused of killing 82-year-old Mary Logie at her home in Leven in Fife in January. The 41-year-old appeared at the High Court in Glasgow, where a trial date was set for December. A landowner has expressed concern as Highland Council examines new routes for the notorious Strome Ferry Road, which is frequently blocked by landslides. The laird of Attadale Estate is opposed to the new route being built through his land. He'd prefer a tunnel next to the existing rail line, though that could cost £100 million more. A colony of caterpillars is responsible for weaving a ghostly-looking web in bushes outside a DIY store in Stirling. The caterpillars, which will eventually become ermine moths, create the web to allow them to grow safely out of the reach of predators. Amazing sight, and here's another one. David.
Been working on that all day. Yes, good evening. Some big news from the French Open tennis. Andy Murray is through to the 4th round after a straight sets win today over Ivo Karlovic. But the tournament is over for one of his biggest rivals, 9-time champion Rafa Nadal. He's had to withdraw with a wrist injury. But Murray back to something like his old self, and he's even been practising his French, as Kerdy Nidsan reports.
A serenade from the stands for Scotland's finest today. Andy Murray was on song himself straight away, banishing the blues of his previous struggles this week. When your opponent's 6'11", lobbing him doesn't sound like a great plan, unless of course you happen to be the world number 2. A relaxed second seed even tried his hand as a line judge. The margins for error in tennis, minuscule. Not that too many errors came from the Scots side. He wanted a quick win, and after only 24 minutes, Murray was a third of the way there. The key moment in the second set came in its very first game. Another break of the Karlovic serve was all Murray needed to take a 2-set lead. The third set was much closer as Karlovic improved, but when it came to the decisive tiebreak, once again Murray was too good. It's hungry work staying at the top in tennis. No sooner had victory been claimed than the winner started thinking about tonight's tea. In French.
Filet de boeuf avec frites maison et salade verde.
You don't claim to be a great linguist, do you? You don't really enjoy speaking languages. It reminds you of being back at school and the teacher suddenly picking on you?
No, I mean, I do like languages, I'm just not very good at them.
Well, what a difference a couple of days make. Andy Murray right back on form, and all of a sudden, just one win away from the quarter-finals of the French Open. Standing in his way on Sunday, a similar type of opponent. It's the big-serving American John Isner, and the good news for Andy Murray fans is that he hasn't managed a single win over Murray in their 5 previous matches.
Ayr United could face disciplinary action from the Scottish Football Association over the marketing of their new first-team kit. One women's sporting organisation says it's sexist, and the SFA's compliance officer will decide whether the club faces charges of bringing Scottish football into disrepute. They've just been promoted to the SPFL Championship, the second tier of Scottish football, but it seems months before the new season starts, Ayr United are already in trouble with the authorities, and it's all because of publicity shots for the team's new kit. Shirt sponsors Bodog, an online gambling company, used a series of images like this featuring a topless model painted in team colours. That prompted complaints to the Scottish FA.
What kind of message is this sending out? That it's quite acceptable to have women naked and painted to try and sell a football strip. Ayr United are a family club. They should be appealing to families. I think there's an own goal here in terms of how they're trying to appeal to the families, because it's definitely a non-starter where I'm concerned. The publicity shots have certainly got people talking in Ayr. What do you make of that?
Disgusting.
Oh, no,
it's painted on.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. But it's good, it's good effect. Covered, so it's all right.
It's no fit, but is it? Come on, I mean, that's porn.
Ayr United are making no official comment. Sponsors Bodog are, though, their founder Calvin Ayr telling the BBC, "This is the 5th consecutive year we've done a similar photo shoot, so this outraged of Glasgow reaction is, at best, bizarre."
Graham, Ishal Ganosha.
Ayr United won a playoff final to reach the championship wearing their old kit. They'll probably escape sanction for the post-match pitch invasion. The SFA's compliance officer will determine whether they face charges for this week's publicity stunt. Paul Lawrie says he's delighted and honoured at being appointed one of Darren Clarke's vice-captains for Europe at this year's Ryder Cup Golf. He'll be joined by two other vice-captains, Thomas Bjorn and Padraig Harrington. The former Open champion Lawrie was part of the Miracle of Medina European winning team of 2012. World champion swimmer Robbie Rennick fears the sporting legacy of the Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games will be damaged if there isn't more investment at grassroots level. He says budget cuts could have a negative impact on the next generation of Scottish athletes. Jane Lewis has more.
Come rain or shine, these school pupils in Stirling walk or run the Daily Mile. Today they were joined by two Scottish swimmers who'll compete in this summer's Olympics with Team GB. The duo might inspire some of these youngsters to take up sport. One might even follow in their footsteps. Robbie Rennick has tasted success at the top level. He's a world champion and was a medal winner during Glasgow 2014.
And now here in Glasgow, another silver in 2014.
He's proud of those games, but does have concerns.
There's been so many budget cuts in the local councils and they're kind of ripping away all the grassroots sport, in my opinion. We've had the likes of such a fantastic, successful Commonwealth Games. You know, it would be great to have all these facilities open and to have loads and loads of kids coming through totally inspired, because come 5-10 years down the line, it's going to be them who's going to be asked to represent their country. The numbers are not coming through. It's going to be a huge disappointment.
In response to Rennick's comments, a Scottish Government spokesman told us, the Scottish Government is supportive of grassroots sport, and over the next 5 years, we will increase the number of community sports hubs to 200 by 2020, targeting areas of deprivation, and a number of regional centres to support both community and elite sport to help people reach their full sporting potential. Pointers to a game legacy perhaps, but others feel more could be done.
And that's all from me tonight, Sally.
Thanks very much, David. It's nearly 30 years since one of the biggest theatre events seen in Scotland, Witch's Blood, was performed at several venues throughout Dundee in 1987 with a cast of hundreds. Now there are plans to revive the production in time for its 30th anniversary. Tonight, parts of the show will be performed in Remembering Witch's Blood, as Andrea Anderson reports.
In an abandoned Dundee printworks, they're remembering Witch's Blood.
You could feel the tension. It was amazing. It's like Sassas.
Back in 1987, Caroline Hogan was the witch.
The story of the town will be told in my blood. I just remember it being a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We had rehearsals to go to, we had to practice, and rehearse lines, but there was just so many of us all just keeping us going. I was only 15 at the time. I was still at school, and this was just dead exciting, dead exciting.
The production was one of the biggest community theatre events ever seen in Scotland. A cast of 500, an audience of 1,000. They were bussed to the various locations throughout Dundee. Now a slightly smaller cast is busy rehearsing some songs from the original show. The director who put it all together nearly 3 decades ago is back.
I was looking at what was happening in Dundee and I felt a pang of kind of homesickness, which is amazing. I really do believe that Dundee is a kind of spiritual home for me. I think I learned everything I know about theatre in this place.
This performance is a taster. If there's an appetite for more Witch's Blood, then it's hoped to stage a fuller version of the show next year, on its 30th anniversary. Andrew Anderson, reporting Scotland, Dundee.
So what kind of weekend can we expect from the weather? Here's the lady to tell us.
Thank you very much, Sally. Looking fairly settled for most of us. Good evening to you. It has been disappointingly dull across much of Scotland today, though. Again in the northwest, though, leading a charmed life with plenty of sunshine and clear blue skies. Now into this evening, just a few sharp showers in the northwest for a time. As we head through the overnight period, though, these will gradually die out. It becomes dry really across the board. A fairly cloudy night to come for most of us, perhaps some patchy mist and fog for eastern areas. Again, the clearest skies tonight will be in the northwest and not a cold night to come for most of us at all. Into tomorrow, we hold on to fairly cloudy skies for a time tomorrow morning away from the northwest. As we go through the day, though, it's a gradual brightening up process. Most of us seeing some brightness, perhaps even some sunshine come tomorrow afternoon. So taking a closer look for the Argyll area in towards the southwest, plenty of brightness, some sunshine around, just the odd shower through Dumfries and Galloway. For parts of the borders in towards Edinburgh and the Fife area, holding on to a fair amount of cloud here and feeling really quite cool towards coastal areas. For the Murray Coast, inland Aberdeenshire, across the Northern Isles and indeed much of the northwest, plenty of sunshine again tomorrow. Just a few showers developing here during the course of the afternoon and highs of around 19 or 20 Celsius, feeling really quite warm in the sunshine with light winds. Now, if you're hill walking or climbing tomorrow, for the more northern ranges, a lot of dry, bright weather, some sunshine, just a few thundery showers across the northwest Highlands. Temperature-wise, around 7 to 9 Celsius with light east or southeasterly winds. And for the more southern ranges, again, a lot of dry weather, some brightness, a fair amount of cloud through the border hills, and for the Galloway Hills, perhaps just the odd shower. Again, 8 or 9 degrees and light east to southeasterly winds. If you're going into the inshore waters tomorrow then, it's a force 3 or less for the more western areas, and the winds, there'll be light or slight seas and good visibility, perhaps locally poor within any showers here. And for the inshore waters in the east, it's a force 3 or 4 with slight seas and moderate to good visibility. Now, taking a look into the evening tomorrow, again, a few sharp showers across the northwest. Otherwise, a lot of dry, bright weather to end the day with some spells of sunshine. Sunday will be a very similar day to Saturday. A few showers developing across the northwest. Otherwise, a lot of dry, bright weather with plenty of sunshine around. And for Bank Holiday Monday, again, a lot of dry weather. The best of the sunshine for central and southwestern Scotland. That's the forecast.
Thanks so much, Kirstine. Now, a reminder of tonight's main news. Helping more young people from disadvantaged areas get to university is one of the Scottish Government's top priorities. But according to research published today, young Scots from disadvantaged areas are 4 times less likely to go to university than those from wealthy backgrounds. Bogus, misleading and confusing. That's how the claims being made by politicians on both sides of the EU referendum campaign have been described by an influential group of MPs. The Treasury Select Committee says the public are thoroughly fed up of what they call an arms race of lurid claims and counterclaims. And that's Reporting Scotland. I'll be back with the headlines at 8 and the late bulletin just after the 10 o'clock news. Until then, from everyone on the team right across the country, good evening.